on to a very, very, very busy Overwatch League signings. Lots and lots of them. Like more than I feel like reading. There was a ton. Some of the major stuff was mostly just the Spark basically refilling their lineup after releasing a bunch of people. Exy to the Dallas Fuel. If I didn't say that last week, it is official now. The NYXL, the team that was absolutely studded season 1 of Overwatch League, has released 3 of their players. SayBLB was like their team captain, and some people argue best tracer in the world. And then they also got rid of Libero and somebody else.
Anyone call him the best tracer in the world anymore?
Well, they were saying that SayBLB was
or striker anyway.
But I mean, their team was very, very good season 1. And so to see them kind of seeing them parting ways with some of their players is interesting. But I mean, as far as this year goes, it's not really surprising. I mean, it seems to be happening across the board. Shanghai signed a marginal, decently good DPS and Erster. I guess they're trying to fill some voids there. I feel like he's very similar to another player they have that I'm blanking on his name. But it should be interesting to see how that goes. But I know you've been crying about it for however long we've been doing this podcast, 3 weeks now. But the Houston Outlaws are finally rumored to be making some moves. So the Houston Outlaws are expected to sign Happy and Nero. So Happy is regarded as like top tier DPS, hard carry DPS. Happy makes you happy.
Absolutely, he makes me happy.
It should be interesting. So the interesting part though about the other half of this possible signing here in Nero, this guy, I saw him tweeting the other day, basically sarcastically saying Overwatch is fun right now, and then he posted like the little like, oh, fact checkers say this is not true, like as like he like copied and pasted that under his tweet about Overwatch is fun.
Official sources.
Yeah, which I don't know if that gives me a big vote of confidence on my new player that he even wants to play the game. But I mean, it's interesting because I feel like Overwatch. This really, I mean, I think it does apply to Overwatch League though. Because Overwatch League has had more players retiring than like hardly any other esports. Like the amount of most esports do not see the numbers of people that are being paid contracted players quitting because they're sick of a game. And it's just like, I love Overwatch. You love Overwatch, but we play it in a much more
casual.
Yeah. And like in smaller doses. It seems like the people that truly hate the game, but are still playing all the time are the ones that just grind and grind and grind and grind. They play the game until they hate it. I mean, they literally burn themselves out and then play for another 2 years. It's like to me, it's like play a different game. If you're hating it that much, why torture yourself? Like play it in moderation and have fun with it. I don't understand why create so much toxicity around a game because you've played it so much that you hate it. And then it's just like, I don't know what people expect. I mean, I don't know. Everyone's like, oh my God, they keep breaking the game by buffing and nerfing. It's like they're trying to change what heroes you can play that are the best because they don't want you getting sick of it. It's like everyone's like, oh, Overwatch is at the best place it can be. Oh, let's nerf or let's buff Brigitte, and like mocking when they gave Brigitte a buff and then I guess are taking it away again. But it's like, they have to make changes to these people, otherwise the game gets stale. But then
everyone also they didn't update the game for a year.
Yeah, and so it's like
they're ripping out quick updates, and then clearly they're going to change it quickly because no one was really complaining about the Genji meta that hard, and they changed that quickly because they just want to see usage numbers. And when usage rates go really high for one character, they say, okay, well, maybe let's make a change to that character. They just don't want to see. It's done a lot in Pokemon tier lists on like how good Pokemon are, usage percentage. And that's what they don't want to see. When Genji was good, his usage was crazy high. And that meant either the game was broken and the fact that the character was broken, that he was being used so much because his ult and everything he was doing was so good, or I mean, it was not really or. It's just they need to find a way to find usage to where every player has a certain within a range of usage for every character. And when they break that usage, they want to fix it because they don't want characters used 0.1% of the time. And so that's what happens. Brigida got buffed. Their usage she went through the roof. So they dipped her again. And that's how they do it. They don't do it just all straight for competitive. They do it for pubs as well. They want a usage percentage. And then all of a sudden, when every single game loads up with a Genji in it, that's not what the devs want. Or every game loads up with a Reinhardt in it, that's not what the devs want. That's just what was happening.
Well, and that's what's tough too, is on that same note, everyone's like, oh my God, Overwatch doesn't put out new content. They don't make new characters. They don't make new maps. They don't. And it's like, okay, but you're also complaining about balance all the time. So if all you're doing is complaining about balance, the best way to throw off the balance is put in a whole new character. It's like, if you feel like the balance is struggling that much, how are they going to add a new character when they don't have a game that's balanced? And I think the frustrating part to me,
characters come out with crazy kits as well.
Right.
Like the characters tend to have better kits than characters that released with the game. People like Ashe and Sigma's got a god tier kit, probably like the best kit in the game when it comes to, he has a stun rock that he can break up any ult with. He also can heal himself with his accretion or whatever it's called.
Yep.
And then his ult 50% everybody who hits the floor in it, no matter how much.
And with good team play, easy kills.
Exactly, and that's why a person like Zen is used or BAP were used so they could save themselves from Sigma's ult. That's why they were used, to save themselves from Sigma's ult. And then Ana's kit was pretty crazy when they released her. It's just they always overkit these new guys. So to say I want a new character but keep the game balanced, the new character release is overkitted every time. And then they have to, and then the character gets used like crazy. Echo was used like no one had ever seen because you could get ult so fast when you took over as the character, using her ult and taking over Reinhardt or something. And it broke the game for quick play and stuff like that. It's just, anyways, you can go back. I just wanted to say that new characters get overkitted and break the game. And then people complain about balance, but they want new characters.
Right. I think you're right on with that one. I think that the biggest complaint that I've been hearing a lot lately is that they feel like Overwatch in general, that the rank system is broken, like that the rank system is terrible in Overwatch. But I don't know if these people that play Overwatch have ever played ranked in other games. To me, Overwatch's rank system is no different than any other game. Every other game I've ever played with ranked, you always have kids that are throwing. You always have kids that are like not playing with the team. You've always got Smurfs. That's in every single game that has a ranked play. There is nothing different about their ranked play than any other game. And the only thing that's different is Overwatch League is expected to play more team-based. And when you don't at the higher levels, your team is going to lose. And that is what is tough. But at the same time, this is the hardest fact that most people cannot face is if you are truly better than the rank you're playing at, you will rank out of it. That is the hardest fact people don't accept. Now, do I believe that like you and I are better than our ranks? I do, but I know that I'm at those ranks because I don't play enough to get out of it. I don't play enough games to get out of my rank. I'm lucky if I play more than my placement matches in a season. Like, I think that I can play at a higher level because I've played with people that are, I know a guy back when I used to stream and I was like a low bronze. I had lost so many games of tank. Now looking back, it's funny because at the time when I was playing those tank games, I thought I was doing it right. I thought I was playing a really strong tank. I think back to how I played. I know it was terrible. I know that I was terrible. And I dropped down to like 800 SR, which is unbelievably low. I met people down there, tried to win games. I slowly got myself back up to even be able to play with Logan. There is a kid that I played with down in that low rank that now plays, he is I don't know, like a platinum level player, and like plays, does like scrims and stuff with lower end teams that play in small tournaments. But it's like myself was playing at the same level as somebody that was down there who managed to work and get better and play up in those levels. But I guarantee you the way he played when he was down there and the way he plays now is not at all the same. If you want to move up, get better at the game. And the other difference, here's the big thing. And I actually have played 3 or 4 placement matches in the last couple days. I just decided to hop on. I said, you know what? I've been playing kind of a hot Zenyatta. Let's just see what happens. I think I'm 2-1 or 2-2. And every single game I've been in, I think one game we rolled the other team. The other 3 were really close games. We lost. We literally had a first. It was a control, I think. I don't know. Is control like the King of the Hill game? I always blank on what they're actually called.
Same, dude. I don't know.
Whatever the one where it's got a center point and you try and capture it. I always blank on their actual names. But we were playing that and we were up 99 to like 20. And they ended up coming back and winning that point 100 to 99. Do you know what happened as soon as we went into that lobby to the next like point? Whole team started arguing with each other about who was doing bad, who was doing this. We need more DPS. We need better tanks. We need more healing. It's like, shut up. Worry about how you're playing. If you leave a ranked game and say, I feel like I played pretty well that game, that should be enough. Worry about how you are playing. Yes, you want to win. Yes, you want your rank to go up. But more importantly, you need to look at and say, how did I play? Was there ways that I could have played better? I try now, and don't get me wrong, I'm playing at a much lower mental level. Like, I'm not trying to be the best like a lot of people are that are stressing about it. And I'm not playing as often as these people. But I look at it like every time I die, the first thing I think is, what was I doing and could I played it differently? What? And I try to think every single time I died, was I in the right spot? Did I cause my own death? Because if I blame the tanks, if I blame the DPS, I can do that every single game. It doesn't matter if we win or lose. I can always blame someone on my team for not carrying their weight. You can always blame somebody. When I'm Zenyatta and I'm gold damage, I can blame all the damage dealers I want. I can. But here's the thing I also noticed. There was a game that actually was happening. So we were struggling, one of the games that we lost, and I was gold damage for a while. And at first, I didn't say anything. I just watched these people in chat complain, say, "Oh, these people aren't doing this. These people aren't doing that." And I almost typed. I go, "Well, I'm gold and damage as Zenyatta," and I was like going back and forth gold healing with a Baptiste. And I almost said something, but then I was like, you know what though? I am like 6-5 right now. I'm gold damage, but I'm not finishing any of these people I'm hurting. I'm not headshotting them and bursting them down. I'm not killing these people. So I can't say anything. Yes, I'm gold and damage, great. But think about how big in Overwatch, if all of a sudden that damage that I was putting in becomes a kill, how much bigger that is than just laying in damage. Yes, laying in damage is great for team play and everybody can capitalize to it. But man, if I really want to say I'm doing everything I could, well then I should have been hitting those headshots and killed that guy and gave us the 6-on-5. Not just laying in damage and being golden damage. Yeah. And that's what I thought about. I almost said something about being golden damage, but I was like, man, you know what? I'm thinking about how I just played, and I am not killing people. I'm just doing damage. I'm hitting the tanks with damage and they're not dying. It's getting healed back up. I'm missing their DPS every time I try and shoot shots at them. And I'm not really doing anything more than supplementing damage. I just happen to be hitting people more than anyone else is.
You're just building ults, yeah.
Yeah, and so really, I mean, it's almost like, and don't get me wrong, I mean, general gamers are younger than us, but it's like there's a maturity that's not there, and people are not willing to accept that they are making mistakes, so they blame other people, which creates a toxic community, and all you ever see on Twitter is that Overwatch is dead or that Overwatch is terrible. And it hurts me because I love the game. I love playing Overwatch. And now, like we've said before, I don't have a ton of hours. I have a good amount for me, but like I can't stick with one thing for very long. But it hurts to hear people say that it's not a good game when, I mean, Overwatch really stepped out and did a game that nobody else was doing. I mean, they created something that really didn't exist and made a really good game doing it. And then to have people say that it's not good hurts my feelings. That's my rant about Overwatch.
The game's good. People overreact and say it's dead. The game's toxic. Every game's toxic, especially in a game that involves a lot of teamwork. We don't really deal with too much toxicity because we're low. Like we're in like the we're in the lower middle tiers. Like we're in the middle of the lower tiers and like the upper silvers, low golds. But I can guarantee the second you start hitting like 3,400, 3,300, everyone's constantly blaming everybody. And that's what you got to say. It's like, I realize that too. Like, I could easily, as a McCree, right? When I came back to the game after taking a really long break, just like Jason did, me, my buddy Brandon, and Jason all of a sudden started playing the game a lot and started grinding ranked. And all of our ranks just skyrocketed. We were all gaining, like Jason's DPS gained like 600 SRs, Tank gained like 1,200 SR. My DPS went from like low bronze to really high. My tank honestly kind of stayed the same, and my healing like jumped, like got really hot, like even to like 2,200 in gold or something like that. Like, and we're not good at the game, but we can have fun and see our improvements. But when I started playing the game most recently, I realized when I was McCree, if I wanted gold damage, I could get gold damage no matter what anyone wanted to do, period. Because I could just mow a hog for 1,000 damage and never kill him. And I could do it so fast to where I could get 1,000 damage because I'm not going to miss that many times because it's a roadhog.
Right,
he
he's
can
huge.
heal himself, and then he can be healed obviously very easily just by his healers, his supports. And I could just rip 1,000 damage before anyone could even realize, man, this guy went from having 1,000 damage total to 2,500, and people are just like, well, what do you even do? I didn't even kill anybody. It's just like Jason said, he was 6 and 5. He was gold damage, but most of it clearly was useless because he was 6 and 5. Like, you need to get picks, and that's kind of one thing that I learned most recently going back to the game that I can guarantee would actually make me a lot better now if I went to play is, especially with the amount of Overwatch I watched, it's just getting that first or second pick and then having good communication with your team to go, 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 go. Let's get 2 more. And then if we're at a 5-on-2 or whatever we are, we're going to win 99.9% of the time, and we're going to move the card a lot, or we're going to take the point, or whatever it is. You're going to dominate that section. So, and just kind of going in that way. So it's just learning the game a little bit more. Super said it on stream, and he says it all the time. He's like, let's say you play 10 games, there's going to be a max of 2 games that you're going to win no matter what you do. There's going to be a max of 2 games you're going to lose no matter what you do. And you got to be the difference in those 6 games between going 2-8 and 8-2, or whatever it is, 7-3 or 6-4 to see that improvement. He's like, sometimes you'll have one game where you'll he's like, it's all going to even out in the end. No one's getting hosed and getting the bad teammates every single time.
Right.
He's like, so no matter what's going to happen, you got to be the difference in those 6 games because there's 2 games you're going to win. And you could be just like Jason's game that you guys rolled to the win and it wasn't even fair. To be honest, Jason, it might not even matter that you were there. But to the other game that you won the close game, that was one of those games where you were the difference. And then you said there was one game where you got rolled, I think is what you said. Or no, you said 3 of them were close. But regardless, you can be the difference, and you just got to learn to be that difference more often than not. We are not at the skill level yet to do that, and we haven't been playing consistently, but we clearly were getting better when we were trying. But who knows? The game's toxic. People are toxic.
I think the thing is too.
I am concerned with what Jason said is the retirement. People played CS:GO for like 5 years before retiring. People play, or maybe even longer before anything ever came out. People played Call of Duty for a decade before you really see people retiring. People still retire, but it's like 1 or 2. Overwatch, it seems it's always like a major deal. And people are just like, the second Valorant came out, people were jumping to Valorant. And it's like, it is a little concerning to see Overwatch when people are just like leaving and being so toxic. But then you have people in like Call of Duty like Karma and JCap leave. And everyone says how amazing it was, and they're always like, "Dude, this run was so amazing. I loved every part of it." But then some of these Overwatch guys retire, and they're like, "This game sucks." It's
So I
like
do want to
so
see.
weird.
I'm interested to see if Call of Duty has a lot more retirements now that they are in this franchise mode, because I do wonder if a lot of, because of what I've heard, that the biggest problem with Overwatch is that because of the franchise model and the way it is and the requirements for each team, that they burn out so hard.
Oh
And I
yeah,
do wonder if Call of Duty with the same franchise model is going to have a lot of the same issues, or
well,
I
they
mean,
will.
or these people just built different.
Yeah, they built different. They will. Clearly, Scump is going on Twitter and just ripping the most popular, one of the most popular gamers in North America for people who follow Call of Duty or not. Scump's got, I believe, multiple millions of followers on Twitter. Yeah, it's got 2.1 million followers on Twitter. Just so happened to be up on my Twitter feed.
He streamed to
And
like 40,000 people. Like,
what?
not, he was streaming to like 40,000 people like an hour before we were
Yeah,
recording.
uh, was just ripping the Activision League to shreds. That right before their first tournament, I think it was in Minnesota, they put a contract in front of all 60 pros and said, "Sign it," and you couldn't bring it to your lawyers or you couldn't play this weekend. So 59 of the 60 signed it, and then the 60th wound up signing it. But now, I mean, and so what happened with Scump is he did on his own Twitch stream during the Call of Duty off season, had a sponsored stream for a different game, for a mobile game, and he got fined by his league for streaming that game. And he had problems with that. And so, just like Jason said, will these leagues cause more problems and retirements? Potentially, because Scump's like, this is my streaming. I'm just streaming. He's like, I'm not working. I'm streaming, and I'm getting fined by the league for it. And he knows he's going to get fined for saying this stuff because anytime Octane or Crimzik said anything bad about the league, they got fined for it. And I'm sitting here imagining a world in like the MLB where if you were just to criticize the league, you got fined.
Trevor
Yeah, if you
Bauer.
criticize the officiating or what happens in those pro leagues, you do get fined because you don't want to change the officiating by having one player complain so much about one official that the next time that that official officiates his game, he may have a slight bias either towards or against that player to try to even things out or maybe make them farther apart. But these guys are just saying, yeah, this part of the game sucks. And then they get fined for it. It's a really weird dynamic these leagues have. And I can't imagine these Overwatch players if they got fined every time they talked bad about the game on stream like these Call of Duty guys do. So I do agree in the fact that now it's franchise, Jason, that the first year happened and most players survived, but now you're going to see guys like maybe even some of the better guys that all of a sudden have a little more of a, just like JCap and Karma, who were getting ripped by the league, but are pretty big streamers that average hundreds of viewers. In Karma's case, almost 1,000 viewers a stream. All of a sudden, oh yeah, I'll make money streaming instead of having to worry about winning.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think the other thing is with a game like Overwatch, Overwatch is big in the United States, but it's also big in a lot of Asian countries too, which I think makes it really difficult in general for the way the league is set up, because they've got teams in Asia, they've got teams in the United States, and I think a lot of that travel
Europe.
and that the different times and stuff like that, I think that adds some stress as well. On top of the
They
fact
literally
that
have 3 continents, dude.
yeah, on top of the fact that I mean it's pretty obvious that the North American players have a really hard time hanging with like the Korean players. And so a lot of these teams go full Korean, and it's like, man, if I'm the North American player constantly looking over my shoulder, is there somebody going to take my spot? Is there someone going to take my spot? I got to keep grinding. I got to keep grinding. I hate my life, but I got to keep grinding or I won't make my money. And then eventually you just say, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore. Because in Overwatch League, it really does seem like they will replace you instantly. I mean, Call of Duty with the franchise, they stayed really loyal to a lot of the big names.
Like the bottom couple teams, like even Seattle, who was terrible all year, the only reason they made a roster switch was because Karma retired.
Yeah.
The only teams that really did anything were, I believe, the 2 LA teams when they decided to like switch out a couple players. But most teams had the exact same pros, or they traded teams, but the same players played. Like even though like Optic made a trade for Pristini, Pristini was a starting player in Florida and then was starting on Chicago. I think I called him Optic, but Chicago. But yeah, you hadn't seen that much yet. You hadn't seen the ruthless of what Overwatch League is in COD. A lot of
Yeah.
guys starting to finish the year if they deserve to or not.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting seeing that move forward. With that being said, though, this is probably our longest podcast
Oh
now.
yeah, we're about
I
2 hours.
mean, we've definitely cranked out some good conversation here. But with that being said, we probably should be wrapping it up. So thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, make sure you hit that subscribe. You know what? I appreciate all your guys' support. I know Logan does too. But with that being said, we are out of here. Catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.